Danskere, come together, raise up your banners. Vi skal forsvare Dannebro, den danske vikingebesætning. Vi skal forsvare og besvare ild med ild. Vi giver dem bredsiden, fordi vi er under angreb. This guy, han har været i Danmark, og 37 tips I wish I knew before visiting Denmark. Så jeg går ud fra, det er sådan semi-negativt. Noget af det, jeg kan se, der er noget med pricing, prisen, der er noget med et eller andet. Prøv at høre, jeg skal ikke brokse over Danmark, så kan jeg blive væk, mand. Så vi skal lige se ham her. 37 tips, som du burde vide, inden du tager til Danmark. Han er åbenbart blevet chokeret over et eller andet, eller hvad? Lad os prøve at se, hvad han har at sige om vores kære sted. Eller det er egentlig mere København, han er i.
Copenhagen has to be one of the coolest cities in the entire world. But
okay, han starter med at sige, at det er en af de cooleste steder i hele verden. Got it.
But there are some
så måske det ikke er så negativt. Eller?
Things I wish I'd known before visiting. I just got back, so I got a lot to share with you.
Okay.
First thing to note is that Copenhagen is really
Here we go. Men det er det. Altså, vi er ikke det land i verden, der betaler allermest skat, og vi er åbenbart også det land i verden, der tager allermest for kaffe, ikke?
Expensive. I knew it was expensive going in. I didn't realize just how expensive, so
det også var sygt at tænke på, at han vidste, at det var et dyrt sted, og da han så kom, så blev han stadigvæk overrasket. Altså, selvom han havde forventningsafstemt med sig selv, okay, det kommer til at blive dyrt at købe ting her, så var det dyrere, end han forventede.
Be prepared for that way you're not caught off guard. Also keep in mind that this is a completely cashless place. I didn't see anybody use cash.
Cashless place? Altså ja, du kan bruge kort og mobile pay overalt og sådan noget. Er det en ting, eller hvad? Kan man ikke det alt? Det kan man måske ikke. Jamen, vi har en god sådan kortinfrastruktur, det er rigtigt. Altså, jeg har aldrig kontanter på mig, nogensinde.
I never needed it once, so leave that at home. Just get ready.
Jamen, true. Altså, det er der måske ikke alle steder, man kan så nemt begå sig.
Ready to use your cards, but let's talk about some of the biggest culture things of like
okay,
how can you actually save money and how do people partake in life.
Yeah.
The most important thing to note is public transit is like just exceptional here.
Okay, exceptional, ja.
The top 5 in the world.
Har vi top 5 offentlige transport i verden?
The best that I've ever seen. So you're first going to interact with this when you're coming from the airport.
Ja, det er rigtigt, når man kommer fra lufthavnen. Altså, man får bare tyret i ansigtet forskellige transportmidler.
Really easy to get from the airport. There's trains and metros.
Ja, nemlig der er både tog, og der er metro. Booming, want some train. Der er train og metro, og der er jo også busser og taxaer, hvis man vil.
Right once you get out of like baggage claim and come out to the main thing of the airport,
ja, taxaer er så ikke offentlig transport.
You'll see this big area.
I guess.
You go and you buy your ticket right there.
It
couldn't be any easier. It's going to take you right downtown.
Ja, vi har godt netværk.
Now, once you're actually downtown, you're definitely going to want to get
downtown. Hvad er det, han kalder downtown? Er det centrum, eller hvad?
Get some sort of metro pass.
Metro Boomin wants a pass!
I ended up doing the
24
or 48 hour pass. That's just what worked well for me, but there are some mistakes that I made. So bear with me here. We're going to explain some important things.
Så han har købt et 48 timers Metro Boomin
First thing that
pass.
I screwed up day one is you go to the metro stop and you're like, all right, I'm going to navigate this new system. You go down the escalator and you're like, wait, am I in a mall? Where the heck am I? This is way too nice to be in.
Ja, lige nøjagtigt. Det er vores metro.
Metro station.
Nej, jeg synes, det var pænt.
Nope, that's just how nice they are here in Copenhagen. So
når de synes, det er virkelig, virkelig flot. Jamen, det er rigtigt. Man har selvfølgelig set nogle af de der slumsteder. Jeg kan huske, dengang vi tog metroen i Frankrig, da vi skulle ind til Paris igennem de der ghettos metrostationer. Der var man godt nok rimelig bange for at blive overfaldet.
You are in the right place, but make sure that along the walls, that's where you buy your ticket. I made the mistake of just getting on the train thinking that maybe I buy it there because I didn't see anything. There is no
du skal godt nok have billetten inden.
place to actually scan in. It's not
det er der. Der er sgu da rejsekortet.
How it works in Copenhagen. Instead, you buy a ticket, it'll look something like this. You just
der er rejsekort, buddy.
Hang on to this. Now, there will be people who come around and check tickets sometimes.
Sometimes.
There is a hefty fine if you get caught without a ticket.
Yes,
so
altså, risk it for the biscuit, you're gonna get the ticket.
Make sure that you buy a pass, put it in your wallet, have it safe, and make sure that it's ready if somebody comes and checks.
Okay.
Definitely do yourself a favor at some point during your trip.
A way to have fun on the metro. Nå, away, ikke away. Er der et mellemrum her?
Go to the very first cart because
det er faktisk rigtigt. Det er drengedrømmen at sidde allerforrest.
Because there's no driver, you get to act like the driver, and they put this cute little sticker where like kids kind of play around and act like they're controlling the train. But even for adults, it's pretty fun to just watch out the window and say, wow.
Ja, de forreste sidder, det er meget sjovt.
We're going pretty quick and actually see the public transit system that they have built. It is very.
Det har jeg faktisk aldrig set, at der er lavet det her til børn. Det er da meget cute.
It is very impressive. Anyways, another thing around transportation, and this is really a tip for not annoying the locals, because tourists do this all the time.
Lad være med at chikanere de lokale. Altså, hvad tænker du på?
And the first one is thinking that Copenhagen is your opportunity to just ride bikes and explore and have fun. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do it, but recognize that the bike lanes here, that is a form of public transit for...
Ja, det er en skyttegrav, de der. Hold kæft, der er mange cykler derovre. Altså, jeg kan godt forstå, der sker højresvingsulykker af til. Hold kæft, der er mange cykler derovre.
The locals, they're using it to get from point A to point B. So if you're a tourist who has never...
Ja, altså bare følg med strømmen, ikke cykle i vejen.
Bike before, maybe consider not renting a bike, or...
Hvis du aldrig har cyklet på en cykel før, er det nok ikke en god idé. Nej, det er det ikke, fordi folk de kører til herovre.
If you do, just make sure that you understand the bike rules. Understand when you can turn right, which you can't do on red. Make sure you understand the hand signals, because it can get pretty dangerous when you get tourists on a bike who don't really know what they're doing. And locals,
for de cykler fandme til, det er jo en halv Tour de France-etappe.
They're used to it. They're flying through every day, and yeah, it's just a pain point for them. So be cognizant of that.
All right.
Another thing that you're going to want to be cognizant of, which I'm probably not doing.
Second thing that will annoy the locals.
This video is lower the tone of voice.
Lower your voice?
A little bit. Things are quiet. Things are peaceful here, and it's really easy to identify the tourists being really loud around their peaceful little canals.
Jeg synes overhovedet ikke, der er stille i København. Jeg synes, det larmer helt vildt.
Beautiful areas, so
der er stille i Hjørring, altså nærmest uanset hvor du er, men...
Respect the culture and don't be that annoying tourist.
Okay.
Another thing...
Men der er nok mindre larmende i andre byer, end i andre store byer.
Culturally that I just wish I knew.
En ting, som han har fortrudt.
I wish I knew how cool Copenhagen was. And what I mean by that is...
Hvor cool den er.
I did not feel like I was dressed appropriately. I wish I would have brought my cooler clothes.
Du kan da gå i lige præcis, hvad du vil i København. Spektrummet er så bredt i København. Altså, der er folk, der bare render rundt i joggingtøj, der er folk, der render rundt i crazy stilet jakkesæt. Altså, spektret er der så bredt i København.
People just know fashion, which I did not.
Ja, det har jeg faktisk hørt tit. Det er rent nok, altså, når man kommer til storbyen, at de bliver faktisk ofte rost for deres stil, københavnere, eller sådan danskere. At der er rigtig mange, der går stilet klædt.
I wasn't dressed poorly, but these people take it to another level. So if you're worried about fitting in, maybe bring some
det har jeg faktisk nok hørt.
Those fancier, trendier clothes where you're trying to be a bit more expressive.
Det ser vanvittigt ud, det sted her.
So not the plain black t-shirt that I'm always wearing, or green one. This is my nicer stuff, I guess. I probably just need to accept that I'm not cool enough to fit in Copenhagen. They're just on another level. The next really important thing to know is that food quality
what to expect
is really high in Copenhagen.
Ja, vi har godt køkken.
Like,
vi har Michelin-stjerner og alt muligt.
Optional dining options pretty much across the board. That is where you can expect things to get pretty pricey, but a big recommendation
det er rigtig dyrt noget af det.
Here is make sure to make reservations.
Ja, reserver bord. Ja, tak.
Most of the places, even at that mid-tier level, did require reservations.
Der er run på.
Especially on the weekend. So let's jump into some food recommendations, because there are so many good ones. The first spot that I absolutely loved was a place called the
Det kender jeg ikke. The 1612?
1612. And kind of like a brunch restaurant, but just incredible quality in terms of the ingredients they were using, beautiful presentation.
Det kender jeg. Hold kæft, en rugged væg, den der. Der kan man godt nok snakke om at have sådan en patina-design. Den står bare helt bare, den væg der.
Really tasty.
Eller væg, undskyld.
Highly recommend them. Now, if you've only got a couple days to visit, and you want to sample a bunch of the local dishes, there is this kind of market slash food hall that is really...
Please sig, han prøver at udtale det.
Popular. It is kind of in that central touristy area, and there will be tourists, so it is a great spot to try
Der er sat med godt nok tomater til en stor guldmedalje her.
A couple of different things. Do note that the prices...
Der kan man lave noget ketchup. Smørbrød!
They're going to be a little bit higher. It's not the best quality, but it will give you that opportunity to sample around. But what about all of that great coffee and pastries that you see all over social media? Well, I've got some suggestions here. For bakeries, there's...
Juno, det har jeg hørt før, fordi at jeg hører Esben Bjerre og Peter Faltofts podcast, Her går det godt, og de er rimelig højt på bagværk, og de snakker ofte længe og godt og positivt om Juno.
One, and really in my opinion, only one choice, and that is Juno the bakery.
Okay.
This is
det er også rimelig udbygget ud.
A little bit further out. This isn't a pretty local area of town, but guys, it is well worth the visit.
Jamen, jeg har godt nok hørt, det skulle være the shit.
Go out on a limb and say this was the best pastry that I've had anywhere around.
Det er det bedste, han nogensinde har haft.
In the world, and if you're new here, I move to a new country every single month. Been doing that for 3 years, so.
What, flytter han til et nyt land hver måned? Det er sindssygt.
I don't say that lightly. This place
Så han har oplevet nogle ting.
is incredible. Highly recommend. There's always going to be a line. Be prepared to wait. It was well worth
Er det køen?
that. Everything we could have hoped for and
Hold nu kæft, mand.
more. So that's the only bakery that I'm going to recommend here.
Wow.
In terms of coffee, you've got some more options. The first one is this place
Prolog, det har jeg også
called
hørt.
Prologue Coffee. This is down in the Meatpacking District, and it's a
Meatpacking District. Er det kødbyen? Er det kødbyen, han prøver at sige her? Meatpacking.
really trendy spot. Great
Huge meat package.
coffee. One of the
Det
little
lyder lidt sådan lidt vulgært.
like pro tips here, and I can't confirm this. So local
Pro tips to Prolog.
help me out if this is true. I think that they are actually serving the baked goods from Juno the bakery. So if you don't
Når de får deres bagværk fra Juno.
want to venture all the way
Det ved jeg ikke noget om.
up to Juno, you might have the opportunity at having some of the things at Prologue Coffee.
Det kan også være, de bare stjålet det.
Could be wrong, but I have a suspicion that they are doing that. But another
Alright.
place that I
Det kan godt være, de har sammen.
highly recommend is
Orsa, det kender jeg ikke.
called Orsa. And this is a cafe. It is in a
Orsa.
really trendy area
Hvorfor sidder de ved sådan nogle børnebord? Eller hvad? Eller jo. Det er rigtig københavnsk, det her.
of town, and the folks who go there, well, they are
Stay Satan. Okay, jamen der er gang i det. Og det er sådan nogle gamle CD-afspillere og sådan noget. Rigtig old school pladespillere og forstærkere, hvad er det der her?
trendy themselves. This place is focused on like music and specialty coffee.
Griner.
Really cool vibes. They do have a little bit of outdoor seating that kind of spills onto the street. Just a really popular place to be and
Nice.
a great cup of coffee.
Det er meget hyggeligt ud.
Definitely recommend them.
Alright.
And one of my other personal
En af hans favoritter, det er hip-hop. Hip-hop, baby.
favorites was this place called Hip Hop.
Det er
This
simpelthen et sted, der hedder hip-hop i København.
one kind of feels like a hole in the wall, but it's run
Det føles som et hul i væggen. Ja, okay. Den er godt nok smal, den butik her. Det kan ikke være mange kvadratmeter, de betaler for.
by two guys who left Prologue to create their own place in hip hop, and
Okay.
I mean, great cup of coffee, nothing to complain about. If you're looking for a fancy night out,
Ruby.
there's a place called Ruby that has exceptional cocktails. They're currently, I think, top
Giv mig de cocktails, baby.
100 in the world in terms
Det er Johnson.
of bars.
Jeg skal have en martini.
Really cool atmosphere, wonderful drinks, and we had a great experience there.
Nice.
And if you can't get into Ruby, there's another
Yeah.
spot called The Bird.
Bird.
Not quite as good, but still a really cool environment to drink in.
Altså, han ved mere om København, end jeg gør ham her.
Definitely would recommend reservations at
Jeg er ikke
both,
lokal.
and both really great spots if you're looking for that cocktail type of evening. Now let's
Cocktail.
talk about some of the places that are completely free that are really
Kanaler
worthwhile to walk around at, and two places that are a little bit controversial. We'll get
Kontroversielle steder, the good stuff.
there, but the first spot is, I'm just going to circle it on this
Kongens Have.
map here.
Operan. Ja. Ja.
I think most tourists will really enjoy just setting aside some time to wander in this area. There's just a lot of different type of architecture. You're going to be up on the water,
Ja, nice.
really unique houseboats. Just a very interesting place
Ja, okay, der er godt. Hold kæft, de er vilde, de der. Er det lejligheder? Nice.
to be, so definitely give yourself some time to do that. Another spot that you might have heard of is Freetown, Christiania.
Freetown Christiania.
Yeah, it's a really unique part of town. Used to be army barracks, and there've been a
Army Barracks, plejer det at være det? Det vidste jeg heller ikke.
lot of people who have lived in it since, and there's some interesting rules around that area. It kind of operates separately, but it is definitely still a part of Copenhagen. Just a really
Ja, det er virkelig et unikt sted.
unique part of the culture and the history to learn about. A lot of art, so definitely go and appreciate that and take in what it has to offer.
Ja, tak.
If you want to be walking by the water, there's a
Ja, vi har da nogle ting at byde på.
spot near the planetarium that just offers a
Planetariet.
great viewpoint. A lot of people will be
Eller planetariummet.
picnicking around there. You can swim in that water. That water is just beautiful, and you can walk like just straight across town
Er det her, man kalder søerne? Der hvor mange folk løber.
along that body of water. So really pretty area to be in. If you want, the Botanical Garden Park is
Botaniske Have.
beautiful, and I think a lot of people think that you need to be paying for it. It is not. The park area itself is
Har jeg aldrig været.
completely free and very worthwhile. You also have the castle. The castle part you do have to
Så det er Kongens Have.
pay for, but the King's Gardens are completely free and also stunning. So
Very nice.
another spot that I think a lot of tourists end up missing is the Assistance
Assistentens kirkegård.
Cemetery. And I know it probably sounds weird putting a cemetery on the list, but this one really is very, very beautiful and a very peaceful place to walk through. So I would recommend there. Just be
Det kender jeg ikke.
respectful, of course. And probably my favorite completely free thing to do is the Garden of the Royal Library. It's
haven er det kongelige biblioteks have.
Just a stunning little
Ja, det er kongens have.
garden. Great place to sit and relax for a little bit. So
Jeg kender bare ikke København overhovedet.
definitely recommend checking them out. But let's talk about two spots that are a little bit controversial. The
Kontroversielle steder. Du har allerede nævnt Christiania jo.
first is New Haven. And
Endelig føler jeg kan gøre lidt en lille smule grin med ham. Han er godt skolet her. Han ved mere om København, end jeg gør nu. Men her, der fik vi ham. We got him, boys.
the first is New Haven. And
New Haven. We got him. Det er ikke sådan, man siger det. New Haven. Det er altid sjovt at høre outsiders prøve at pronounce vores ting.
The first is New Haven. And this is a place that all the tourists, you're definitely going to want to
Rigtig klassiker.
see. And the reason that it's controversial is because it is really more of a tourist attraction. Most
Ja, der er meget crowded.
locals aren't hanging out in this area yet.
Det er alt for stressende.
It's the most like picturesque part of Copenhagen.
Jeg tænker, at det her det er det første, man altså sådan tænker på. Jeg har på fornemmelsen, at det er det første, folk udefra tænker, når de sådan hører om København.
So it's controversial in the sense that, yes, you definitely want to go to it, but it's not representative of all of Copenhagen, and most of the restaurants and shops
Men det er super flot.
around there,
Hyrdefadet.
they're going to be priced trying to take advantage of tourists.
Er det ikke billigt?
So just keep in mind, you don't need to whip out the wallet anywhere near that little area. You're just not going to get the best bang for your buck, so
Jeg tror, det er en pæn dyr husleje, der er der.
keep that in mind.
For i butik, for eksempel.
And the other kind of controversial place is the Little Mermaid statue. So I think this one gets a little bit of a bad rap for a couple of reasons. One, it's a little bit further out than where most tourists end up venturing off to. And two,
Når det ligger måske ikke lige sådan i centrum.
The statue is rather small, and that's really all there is.
Ja, der er altså ikke sindssygt meget at se. Altså det er altså sådan lidt, hvis man rent faktisk går ud på en vandretur, så bliver man altså skuffet, når man endelig kommer frem.
Out there.
Der er ikke meget at se.
So if you get lucky and have a nice weather day, I think it's a great thing to go do, especially if you just want to see a different area of Copenhagen, or if you have little ones who really want to see that statue.
Ja, jeg ved ikke, hvorfor det er blevet sådan en stor ting, men hun er altså ikke særlig imponerende.
But is it that place that you have to go and see on your trip?
Nej, det er det ikke.
Probably not, especially if you only have a couple of days and want to focus on some of the other things. But you make the call there. But let's talk about where you should actually
rigtig fed video, han har lavet ham med.
stay. Which area of town is going to suit you best depending on the sort of trip you're looking for.
Okay.
So the first area that you might
Østerbro, baby! Det er der bandekrig.
is Østerbro.
Nej, det er Nørrebro. Hvad sagde han? Østerbro.
That you might consider is Østerbro.
Er du fra Østerbro? Er du fra Westerbro?
And this is a beautiful area of town. It's very residential, a little bit upscale, and a bit further out than some of these other spots.
Han kender jo områderne bedre, end jeg gør.
This is probably best if you're there for a longer period of time. Maybe if you have families. Okay. Otherwise, if you're only there for a couple of days, you're probably going to want to be a little bit more centered to the action.
Okay.
Next place that you might want to
Hvad kalder han så det her? Nørrebro?
Consider is Nørrebro.
Nørrebro.
Nørrebro feels a bit younger.
Er du fra Nørrebro? Er du fra Østerbro?
This definitely has like an edge and just like cultural flair to it. A lot of good cuisine over there. Kind of like that.
Jeg bliver nødt til at få en part 2, et remix af Waterbro-tracket, hvor han synger lyricsene.
Melting pot area of the city. Definitely a spot to check out and some great things, but a little bit more affordable than that first spot. Now, if you're looking for more of that nightlife type of scene, Vesterbro might be your best option. It is a place that has a little bit more grit than other areas of town. I do hear that area of town has changed quite a bit over the years.
Klassiker.
But it is definitely an area where there's a lot of young people, definitely some nightlife, some great dining options, and it does put you in pretty good proximity. And I was actually over there and I did enjoy my time. But if you're not wanting quite as much grit, maybe if you're traveling with family.
Grit, hvad er det, man sådan direkte oversætter det til?
Things that I identified. I did make a whole video. You can watch that right here. As much of that local feel. So if you're looking for that local experience, this probably isn't the area, even though there's nothing wrong with this place. It's going to give you tourist. The downside, a little bit of a safer feeling as well, and it's really central. The downside here, there's a lot of young people, definitely some nightlife, some great dining options, and it does put you in pretty good proximity. And I was actually over there and I did enjoy my time. But if you're not wanting quite as much grit, maybe...
Det var det, jeg ville høre. Altså, grit, engelsk, dansk, hvad? Grus, men det er jo ikke sådan... Det er jo ikke det. Grit, slang, hvad er det, man... Redneck, filthy person, cigarette. Okay. The ghetto, a bad or seedy neighborhood, a rough part of the city. Damn, så de kalder det for en ghetto.
If you're traveling with families, maybe right to the north of that you have Fredericksburg, which kind of gives you the best of both worlds. Okay,
så det er sådan halv ghetto, halv fint, eller hvad siger han?
Have easy access to that nightlife, but Fredericksburg seems a little bit more upscale, a bit more residential, probably a little bit of a safer feeling as well for families.
Jeg skal kalde det en ghetto.
So keep that in mind. Now, if you're looking for that really charming feel, Christianshavn is just wonderful, beautiful,
Christianshavn,
little area, really safe, and it's really central. The downside here is it's extremely expensive. Very scenic,
det kunne jeg godt forestille mig.
But you do have to have the money to pony up to stay there. Well out of...
Det elsker jeg det udtryk, at pony up, når man sådan skal have pengene frem. Pony up.
My price range, but if it's within yours, it's probably going to be a great place to stay, but don't feel like you have to be there.
Kan man helt seriøst komme så langt op? Er det rundetårn, det der? Hold kæft, man kunne gøre det. Er det ikke farligt, det der? Jesus Christ, man kan komme højt op.
Have to be there because again, the metro is wonderful. The next place that you might consider staying is what I'm just going to...
Jeg ved virkelig ingenting om København. Altså det er det jeg har fået ud af den video her. Jeg har fået det dårligt med mig selv. Jeg ved ingenting. Jeg har intet kultur ind under huden.
Called the city center, and it's everything circled right here. There's nothing wrong with this place. It's going to give you great access to most of the things that tourists are looking for. But recognize that by staying here, you're putting yourself where most of the tourists are.
Ja, det er her tingene sker.
Which means higher prices, things that are a little bit more of that tourist
mange mennesker, stress. Er det storkespringvandet skud? Det ved jeg da hvad.
So if you're looking for that local experience,
kun på grund af at jeg har set YouTuber der.
This probably isn't the area, even though you will probably spend some time here, especially as a first-time tourist. But my biggest tip on where to stay is try to put yourself wherever you can afford, but closest to the M3 line. The M3 is the metro line. It's red on the map, and it's the only line that does just a full loop, and it'll get you just about anywhere in the city in
han har altså bare tipsene i orden,
about 15 minutes. So my priority would be getting as close to one of those metro stops as you can, because it's just going to give you tremendous access to everything else.
Han har også lavet
you don't need to worry about spending up for accommodation close.
Så han har også lavet sådan en unfiltered thoughts on visiting Copenhagen. Det er faktisk ret sindssygt med YouTube-algoritmen her. Så det her, det er ikke hans kanal. Jo, det er hans kanal, jeg besøger. Men det her, det er en personal, hvad hedder det på dansk, personaliseret? Det her, det er en personalized kanal, jeg besøger. Fordi at den første fan, der rammer os, det er til dig fra hans kanal. Hvilket bare rammer, altså, jeg får bang for your buck her. Fordi my unfiltered thoughts on visiting Copenhagen, det vidste jeg faktisk ikke, YouTube gjorde det her. Så jeg besøger hans kanal, men jeg bliver endnu en gang ramt af en algoritme, der prøver at vise mig det bedste, eller mest relevante fra hans kanal til mig. Og bagefter så er det Stockholm her. Og han har så lige været i Canada, Quebec, Montreal. Det der er mega grineren. Så han rejser simpelthen bare rundt og hygger. Men prøv at se her, har han været i Seattle, det er lige bag mit webcam her. 1300 visninger. Prøv at tænke at lave sådan en gennemført video der, ikke? Og bare få intet ud af det.
To the center of the city.
So content.
I hope that makes sense. But if you want just kind of
hans København-video her, den er da mega populær. 47k.
My unfiltered thoughts on Copenhagen and some of the cultural things that I identified. I did make a whole video. You can watch that right.
Ja, lad os lige hurtigt bare lige se. Bare lige hurtigt. Hvad kan det? Kalder han også en ghetto igen?
We're trying this outside today. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully there's not too much noise, but...
Jeg vil faktisk hellere lige hurtigt se kommentarerne, om der er nogle danskere, der lige har været inde og sige, this was probably the most well-informed guide to Copenhagen I've ever seen from an American tourist. Ja, enig. Altså, han ved nærmest mere om Danmark, end jeg gør. Jeg lever i Danmark. Ja, det er dyrt, men 7 kroner er kun 1 USD. Og vi elsker alle sammen rejsende. Gør vi? No. Næste gang du kommer til Danmark, så skal du prøve at gå uden for København. To Fyn and Jylland. Er du sikker på, at han skal derhen? Og se traktortræk, det ved jeg bare ikke. Juno the bakery is a great bakery, but this is not where you get traditional Danish pastry. We Danes normally not go there for our Sunday morning breakfast and pastries. I would recommend a Danish bakery chain named Lavkagehuse. Ja, så kan man satme snakke om at pony up. Copenhagen isn't that expensive compared to places like London and NYC. Okay. Sitting at Nyhavn with a cold beer from a kiosk on the harbor is nice. Denmark has the highest tax on all goods. Yeah. One tiny correction. You can't swim in the water by the planetarium. Eller nogen af dem, der er forbundet. Okay. Så ved vi jo det. Next time, buy a rejsekort. Det var også det, jeg sagde. Next time, why don't you just buy a rejsekort? Nå, skal vi lige se, bare lige hurtigt, lynhurtigt. Hvad, nå, nu er den så forsvundet, den der, fordi jeg har trykket på den, men ikke gad at se den alligevel, eller hvad? Her.
Short answer on Copenhagen. If you're looking for the short version, it's kind of two themes. One, I'm not cool enough for that city, and two, I'm not wealthy enough for that city. But there's a lot more nuance, I guess, to it. So just gonna explain kind of my unfiltered thoughts on my experience in Copenhagen. So many thoughts. Enough. I do have a list of kind of directions of where I'm going to take you. So every now and then I'm going to look down at the phone, but this is not one of those tips.
Han lavede en fejl på dag 1. Lad os bare lige hurtigt se, hvad det er så.
One mistake that I made like day one, first, before I jump into that, public transportation.
Ja, det like, har vi fattet. Det er du vild med. Ja.
Stockholm, incredible public transit system, like so much so down into that, metro station.
Hvad var fejlen?
Like, it's just that nice. Day one, I go and I'm like, looking along, trying to figure out where I'm going to buy a ticket. And I don't notice anything, so I keep going deeper, down these escalators. Eventually find the train. I'm like, I don't see anywhere where I'm supposed to buy a ticket. Maybe.
Nok gik han ombord uden.
Crazy. Maybe I buy this on the train. Maybe I just do this on my phone.
For overvej, hvordan hans oplevelse havde været, hvis day one han bare får sådan en, hvad er det overhovedet? Er det 750? Er det 1250? Er det 1500? Bare sådan en bøde. Bang. Dag 1. Velkommen til Danmark.
So I get on the train and like, sure enough, there's nothing on the train. So I go on my phone. I download the app. I couldn't do it because I didn't have a Danish phone number. And I realized, I completely blew by that thing. And the mistake here was I thought that there was going to be somewhere that I was going to have to like tap in, do something, right?
Ja, men det er jo så det rejsekort igen, som han selvfølgelig ikke lige kender til.
It doesn't exist. They just trust people to utilize it and not take advantage of the system. And there are hefty fines if you do get caught not having a ticket on the metro.
Så han crime-rided den lige, eller hvad?
Needless to say, I then bought a pass, but that was different and just an interesting cultural thing. So,
alright, skud ud. Ladies and gentlemen, tak fordi I set den her video. Vi ses i den næste. Kæmpe fornøjelse. Jeg håber, det var cool, at vi lige ser noget lidt andet i dag. Det har jeg lige lyst til. Jeg synes det var meget hyggeligt egentlig. Det er jo ikke lige så action-packed, som det plejer, men det kan også noget. Tak fordi I har været med. Like videoen. Vi ses igen i morgen.